decide to go.
All right, so we had Brett Yormark on the show last Thursday at the Pro Day up in Frisco, and he mentioned when we asked him about the possibility of anything that he has on the agenda that we don't know about, not that he might have said it, but he was saying right now we just need to make sure we get through the transition and that we kind of get everything right, even though there are going to be new ideas. One of the stories that the Big 12 was going to do next year was they were going to have the game in Mexico, but they've now moved that back. The Big 12 Mexico game and event, the new target date will be 2025. Date will be 2025, continuing its brand in Mexico. But this was something that was new. It was unique. It's also a way of trying to find more scratch, more money. And so maybe there's just so much going on. They said, okay, let's not just run into this. We've got a lot on our plate. We'll take care of this next year.
Well, looking back at when he said that to us, about not adding any more new ideas, it kind of feels now he was telling us that we're gonna slow some things down a little bit because of all the things that have happened. Like now it's like that was him telling us that something like this was probably going to happen, and then here we are less than a week later, and they've already pushed back Big 12 Mexico, which is good, especially if you look at the way that they did Pro Day. Because Pro Day was more about the functionality of it than the spectacle, which was a good way to start it out. Like, figure out the functionality of this thing and then start adding in the other elements that you can bring into it. So I think if you take that same approach with Big 12 Mexico, when you go to Mexico, you can't just have kind of a let's throw a basketball game out there or a football game, like whatever you're going to do. Let's throw a game out there just to have a game. You need to have everything in a row where you have the spectacle, you have the fun, because you are doing an international event. So yeah, instead of doing it just the functionality of it, do it, both barrels, and you'll have that going on. So I'm not surprised that happened.
I think the best part about this and the part that bothered me the most about it was that you had a Houston, Kansas basketball game you were going to put down there. I mean, that's far better served to be played in the city of Houston or in Lawrence, Kansas, with those two teams. That's not a game you give away.
Or anywhere in the country,
yeah,
right?
Put them in Chicago, put them in Brooklyn, put them in Miami, wherever you want to. But, I don't like, or never did like the idea of that being in Mexico. But this is one of those things where last summer so much was flying fast and furious. I know part of some of the ideas were probably to make the conference appear more appealing, or to just be thinking outside of the box, trying to think of different revenue streams. This was one of those that just sort of accepted. It was like, okay, I could kind of see where you're going here. It never made sense from the standpoint that you were going to be able to grow at a rapid rate. They would probably do enough in the short term to really benefit them all that much. Unlike some of the other ideas, like I get the working out in Rucker Park. Like that makes a ton of sense. That's a cool PR type of a thing. I don't know how much of a PR win you get playing the basketball game down in Mexico, but I was at least open-minded about it. I never did like the idea of the Houston-Kansas men's matchup because that's just such a main event type of a game. It feels like it's better served closer to home. But this wasn't something I was crazy about. I think I was pretty much on board with just about trying whatever you thought would make some sense or whatever seemed like it would, create some excitement. But, the more that I thought about this, I wasn't excited about it. It became one of those like, all right, that's cool, and that we'll see how that goes. But I'm actually better with them putting this off, if not putting it off forever, honestly. I don't know that it makes enough of a difference in the short term to really take up space or warrant space at the top of the to-do list right now. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them to back off, reapproach this maybe at a later date. And what that looks like, or what matchup, or what sport even that would be, I don't know. But I'm totally fine with them kicking the can down the road and worrying about some other things before they start worrying about trying to establish a potential base or pull down in Mexico.
We'll skip the cornerbacks. No, we'll do that at another segment, Garrett, because and Craig's going to be leaving a couple of different times today. Once, like around 3:45 or so for Baylor practice, and then again after the show for some media session audio availability. Here are the numbers from the NCAA Men's Elite Eight. This would be normally, Craig, you would do this during Off the Radar.
Yeah. I wanted to mention, though, the whole Big 12 Mexico thing. That includes the football game as well, right?
Yeah, there was a
so
football
all of
game.
it's off.
Yeah,
and
all of it.
I agree with that. I don't like the idea of a football game unless it's an exhibition, because I think those games are too valuable. You're taking away a home game from somebody. So with the benefit of hindsight,
it might have been a bowl game too, which
I don't need. Yeah. I mean, whatever the details are going to be, I'm all for this postponement. And yeah, we'll see how they revisit that later on.
The ratings from CBS